In the heart of the American Midwest, where the cornfields meet the rusted iron of history, there is a bridge that locals say is haunted. Not by ghosts of the past, but by a 43-second video that shattered the safety of small-town America forever. This is a story of two girls who went for a walk on a sunny Monday and stumbled into the path of a monster who would hide in plain sight behind a pharmacy counter for 5 years while a town tore itself apart looking for him. If you think you know the story of the Delphi murders, you haven't seen the unseen evidence that finally brought a verdict in 2026. Delphi, Indiana, is a town of 3,000 people where history is etched into the landscape. But on February 13, 2017, history stopped. Two girls went for a walk on a bridge and never came back. For years, the only clue was a grainy video and 3 words, "Down the hill." Now, as the final verdict looms, we look at the evidence that finally linked a local man to the crime. It was an unseasonably warm Monday. Schools were out. 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German, Abby and Libby to everyone who knew them, wanted to enjoy the sun. At 1:35 p.m., Libby's sister, Kelsey, dropped them off at the trailhead. Libby was the photographer of the duo. She was adventurous, tech-savvy. Abby was more reserved, but followed Libby's lead. They headed for the Monon High Bridge, a towering structure 63 feet above Deer Creek. It's a bridge that officially was closed to the public, but to local kids, it was a rite of passage. At 2:07 p.m., Libby posted a photo of Abby on Snapchat. Abby is walking across the bridge, looking down at the wooden ties. She looks peaceful. But behind the camera, the world was about to shift. Within minutes of that photo, Libby saw him. A man. He was dressed in a blue jacket and jeans, walking with a heavy, purposeful gait across the bridge. Most people would have put their phone away. Libby German didn't. Sensing something was wrong, she activated her video recorder. She captured him, his face partially obscured, his hands in his pockets. Those 3 words would haunt Indiana for a decade: down the hill. Investigators believe that at that moment, a gun was produced. The girls were forced off the bridge, down a steep embankment, and into the woods. By 3:15 p.m., Libby's father arrived to pick them up. He called Libby. No answer. By 5 p.m., the family was panicking. The police initially thought they were just lost, but the night grew cold. As the sun rose on Valentine's Day, the search grew to include hundreds of volunteers. At 12:15 p.m., the shout went up. 2 bodies had been found on the north bank of Deer Creek. Within 48 hours, the FBI took over. The sleepy town of Delphi was transformed into a command center. Thousands of tips poured in from across the globe. But with the tips came the phantom. The grainy image captured by Libby German was everywhere: gas stations, billboards, evening news. He became known simply as Bridge Guy. Then came the first twist that would haunt the investigation for years: the sketches. In July 2017, police released a composite of an older man with a goatee and a hat. 2 years later, they held a dramatic press conference and pivoted entirely. They released a new sketch, a much younger-looking man with curly hair. The public was baffled. Was it one man? 2. The confusion created a vacuum, and in that vacuum, the internet took over. True crime enthusiasts turned Delphi into a digital playground. Every man in town with a blue jacket was a suspect. Rumors destroyed reputations. People were doxxed, their lives torn apart by citizen detectives, convinced they had found the killer. But while the internet was hunting for a shadowy figure in the woods, the real killer was actually looking them in the eye every day, handing them their medication, and even printing the very photos used at the girls' funerals. How did a man confess to being on that bridge the day of the murders and still remain free for 5 years? The answer lies in a single file folder that was lost in the system, until now. Richard Allen lived on Whiteman Drive, just a few minutes from the trail. He was a pharmacy technician at the local CVS. He was the man who filled the town's prescriptions. In 2017, Allen had actually volunteered to speak to a conservation officer. He admitted he was on the bridge that day. He admitted he saw 3 juvenile females. But through a catastrophic clerical error, his statement was filed under the wrong name and forgotten. For 5 years, the killer wasn't hiding, he was simply ignored. As the years passed, the trail went cold. But in 2022, a new clerk was organizing old files and found a name that didn't match the database. This led to a search warrant, a gun, and a single piece of unseen brass. In October 2022, Richard Allen was arrested. Between the bodies of the 2 girls, investigators had found an unspent .40 caliber round. It hadn't been fired, but it had been cycled through a semi-automatic handgun. When police searched Richard Allen's home, they found his Sig Sauer P226. State ballistics experts concluded that the marks on the bullet found at the crime scene matched Allen's gun to the exclusion of all other firearms. No DNA, no fingerprints, just the mechanical fingerprint of a handgun. As the trial approached, Richard Allen's defense team dropped a bombshell. They claimed Allen was a fall guy for a ritualistic sacrifice performed by members of a Norse pagan group known as Odinists. They pointed to the way the girls' bodies were posed and the placement of branches over them in the shape of runes. While the Odinist theory dominated headlines, the prosecution had a secret weapon: confessions. While awaiting trial, Richard Allen reportedly made over 60 incriminating statements to his wife and mother during recorded jailhouse calls. The defense argued his mental health had collapsed under the pressure of solitary confinement, that he was a man broken, confessing to things he didn't do. The trial began in late 2024. The prosecution relied on the golden trio of evidence: the video, the bullet, and the confessions. The jury deliberated for 4 days. On November 11, 2024, the verdict was read. Guilty. Guilty on all counts of felony murder and murder. Richard Allen was sentenced to 130 years in prison. But the story didn't end there. As we look at the case today in 2026, the appeals process is in full swing. His lawyers continue to argue that the Odinist evidence was unfairly suppressed and that the unseen bullet wasn't as definitive as the experts claimed. Delphi is no longer just the site of a tragedy. The community built a multi-million-dollar park in the girls' names. Libby's quick thinking, capturing her own killer on camera, is taught to children across America as a lesson in courage. They were just 2 girls who went for a walk, but they left behind a legacy that changed the face of American justice. The hill is silent now. The evidence is seen. And finally, the girls are home. But the question remains, with the conflicting sketches, the lack of DNA, and the bizarre ritualistic elements at the crime scene, do you believe the right man is behind bars, or is the real bridge guy still out there? Let us know your theories in the comments below. Does the ballistics evidence settle it for you, or are the jailhouse confessions too suspicious to ignore? If you want to stay updated on the 2026 appeals and other deep dives into the cases that changed America, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications.